Everything that is created, sooner or later must die, and this also applies to one of the greatest energies in the universe, namely the sun. The sun itself is the center of the solar system, and its existence is very important for the planets that surround it, including the Earth. Experts say that the sun is now about 10 billion years old and is estimated to die in the next 5 billion years. Over time, the sun slowly converts its original supply of hydrogen into helium, primarily by a process called proton chaining. The sun will start dying using the remaining hydrogen, and this will turn the sun into a red giant. And here are the terrible things that will happen if the sun dies and disappears. The sun change color. Like other stars in the solar system, the sun will also die and shrink into a white nebula or dwarf that is smaller than planet Earth. But the phase that occurs in the sun is nothing to worry about. Before it shrinks, the sun will expand and turn it into a giant red star. The mass of gas and dust that is released before death forms a shroud in outer space. This shroud is so large that it can even reach half the mass of the star. At this point, the sun seems to drain the remaining battery for the last time. This will be very dangerous for the planets around it. It is known that Mercury to Mars will burn and the Earth will be swallowed by this one giant red star. Earth temperature is very hot. The phase in which the sun turns into a giant red star will last for 5 million years. At that time, the land that used to walk on the sun's shroud will become very chaotic. The temperature will become very hot. It can even burn human skin. The very hot ocean will evaporate into hydrogen and oxygen. Gradually the water on planet Earth will be running low and humans become increasingly difficult to control. Besides that, the Earth's atmosphere will condense and fill with the two components of the ocean. Its structure changes so that the Earth looks like the planet Venus. When things like this happen, the Earth is no longer suitable for humans to inhabit, and most likely everyone will die. Pluto planet surviving. When the sun turns into a giant red star, one of the planets that is ready to become human habitat is Mars. But the planet cannot be inhabited by humans because it is covered by a sun shroud. Therefore, the planet that is most likely to welcome and be inhabited by humans is Pluto. In fact, the planet Neptune can also be inhabited, but the temperature will be too hot and very risky. Besides Pluto, asteroids and comets that surround it can also be inhabited by humans. With all its limitations and risks, it is known that humans must travel about 9 to 12 years to reach the planet. The sun turns into a dwarf star. After the solar system scorched and became the hottest place in the universe, slowly, the sun turned into a small star. It is known that its size will get smaller and become even smaller than the Earth. This happens because helium turns into carbon, and oxygen will lose its mass when this process occurs. The core of the sun will turn into a dwarf, and all the veil that covers it will be sucked in. In this case, the temperature of the solar system changes drastically, from hot to cold. Even so, it took millions of years more for the sun to become small. The Earth is dark and the moon gone. One of the events that occurs when the sun runs out of hydrogen and goes out. The Earth will become very dark and the moon will disappear from the Earth. This is because the sunlight comes out after 8.5 minutes, considering this is the time it takes for sunlight to reach the Earth. So when the sun begins to extinguish itself, humans will not immediately notice it until 8 minutes later. And of course, the greatest calamity cannot be avoided anymore by anyone. After that, the Earth will turn black as if the electricity went out all over the world. In the night zone, the moon suddenly disappears because there is no reflection of sunlight. Fortunately, in this process humans can still see the remaining starlight. When the sun swells closer to the Earth, then the gravitational pull of the Earth and the planets around it will weaken so that the planets turn away from the sun to a safer orbit. Earth temperature cold and frozen. So far, Sunlight is one of the things that makes life on Earth run very well. When this light from the sun disappears, planet Earth will gradually freeze. But the Earth can still be normal in a short time. This is because the Earth has heat reserves from its core. But once the heat is lost, the oceans and all the water on Earth will freeze with very cold temperatures. In a few days many plants will die, because nothing can photosynthesize. After that the average temperature on Earth will drop to 0 degrees Celsius in 1 week, and minus 65 degrees Celsius in a year. Then the Earth's surface and all oceans will be covered by thick ice, but the water in it will remain liquid. The Earth changes after freezing. Another extreme change after the Earth freezes is the death of plants, which will be followed by animals, and eventually humans will not be able to survive on Earth. After hundreds to thousands of years, the temperature continues to fall until the Earth's atmosphere freezes, and ice rocks from the atmosphere will fall. At this time the planets in the solar system will lose their orbits, and float in a vacuum, and sooner or later, humans will not be able to survive when the sun dies. Fortunately, this event is unlikely to happen in the near future. Experts predict that it will happen about billions of years in the future. So as long as humans can still take care of the Earth, the possibility of bad things on this planet Earth can still be overcome.
Crash between planets. So far, it is known that the mass of the Sun serves to keep all the planets orbiting in the solar system moving in their place. If the Sun goes out, then what will happen is that the entire solar system will hit each other at high speed. Even if it is possible when the cataclysmic crash occurs, all planets including Earth will scatter into space. It will certainly cause total chaos in the solar system. Earth is not the only planet that suffers when the Sun begins to die. Other planets in the solar system will experience problems same. When the fate of the Earth is still in question for its safety, planets that are closer like Venus and Mercury will certainly disappear from the solar system, while other planets that are far away will experience heat. It is known that the temperature of Uranus and Neptune will increase. Even the ice on Pluto will also melt because the temperature on this dwarf planet also rises.
The food chain is broken. When the sun goes out, the food chain on Earth will also become chaotic and messy. Plants cannot photosynthesize because there is no light from the sun. With this kind of situation, transformation will make all plants wither and die slowly. As a result of the death of plants, animals too will follow the same fate as plants. Animals that will die first are herbivores because they will no longer get food. Then if the herbivores become extinct, the carnivores and omnivores will follow because there is no meat that can be eaten by this type of animal. When plants and animals die, it is a sign that the food supply for humans will decrease. Cold air temperatures will slowly freeze water and drinking water supplies will slowly run out. In addition, the colder temperature will make oxygen decrease automatically, until at one point the oxygen will disappear. Humans will stop breathing and perish.